All right, let's go. Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything is working. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, your local game guy with co-host Will, also local gamer.
Sup?
Hey guys, how are you? If you're tuning in for this episode, that's because you're interested in the rest of the set. We covered every legendary from the set and ranked it with you guys. It was collective. Don't yell at us over it. I also want to state that anytime we do those tier lists, again, it's for funsies, okay? It's meant to be a fun time. But if you haven't watched that video, or you're interested in why I'm making these comments, go and watch that video after this. It's a really good one. The set had a bunch of real great legendaries for casual and I would say some competitive play. There's a lot of cool stuff from this set. And the set as a whole has so much stuff. Again, I can't stress how many cards I've written down. This is the most I've written down for any set in a long time. And I'm going to try to fit this in under 2 hours because I know we lose retention after about an hour. So, Will, thoughts before we jump into this one?
We're gonna have a whole lot of things to go over because there are so many just really, really good cards in the set.
Right. So the way I have it organized on, I realize this might not even be up yet. What? Wait, here. Oh, nope, it's not. Okay. So the way I have it organized over on Scryfall is by color in both the commander and main set. So there will be reprints we see through here. We're going to be skipping through these. Also, when I was labeling this, we actually got some of this content in advance. So the way WotC organized their cards is a little different than how they would show up here. So I might be doing a little bit of jumping around. If we happen to miss a card in a color that you think is exceptional, please bring it up. We're always happy to talk about it. That's why we do these live. But note that we'll be going through this in rubric order, of course, touching on multi, colorless, and land at the end of the video. Now, Will, should we just start this one off?
Yeah, we can start it off.
Hey, Faith. All right. Yeah. Let's do that. I'm excited to just start talking about these cards because there's so many bangers. And the first one I want to talk about, please. No, it's not there. Okay. I don't want to skip the amazing one. I just want to see if this card shows up. So I put in the wrong thing. I wrote down Dowerport Cutthroat as my first card.
Do you mean Dowerport Mage?
Dowerport Mage, excuse me.
Yeah, that would be in blue. I
You know
think.
what? You know what? That's why. Like I said, Wooburg order, people, please get it straight. Because the first card I want to talk about, that also starts with the D, is Dawn's Truce. It happens to be the face card of this thumbnail. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's quite good. So it's a generic and a white, instant speed, gifted card. There's reminder text on the screen. I'll let you read over that. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. If the gift was promised, permanents you control also gain indestructible until end of turn. I think the gift aspect isn't always essential on this, but there are plenty of moments where someone casts a spell that says destroy a thing, and if that thing's a permanent, it's safe. And all you got to do is give someone a card. I do think a generic and a white is costly for what's the name of that?
Intervention.
Heroic Intervention. Heroic Intervention's 2, right? It's generic and a green. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a little costly, but this is a more flexible version of that. And I say that because people don't usually run Heroic Intervention in cEDH list. But I think if you're in mono white or split color, this is probably something you'll go to. Generally speaking, we prefer silence effects, right? We'd like to run out of silence before we start doing the things we want to do, and then the threat of removal really isn't there unless there's a channel effector. Depending on the type of silence, you might be open season for some form of removal. But I do think that this is really great and will be a boon for a lot of white list to include Oswald the Fiddlebender. So I have a slot in the deck for it already. Will, I said a lot. What are your thoughts?
I just gotta say, you overlooked the best part of the card.
Yeah. I left it for you.
Yeah, one in a white, make target Thoracle player lose the game.
That's good. If only it was.
Really funny.
Imagine if it was split second and then you get to gift them.
Oh,
Imagine that.
it would be brutal.
But in either way, it's part of casting. So like they'll draw the card they'll be gifted the card no matter what, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I do want to say, if you add this in Oswald, it does give you another infinite combo in Oswald because you can use the bauble that shuffles stuff from your graveyard back into your library, and you can do the copy loop with the Rings of Brightheart that keep shuffling Dawn and the bauble in your deck,
Mm.
and then just deck everybody out.
Yeah. Yeah, we could. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's just that is another win. It's like it's the
I don't
type
think
of
I have
win
the
that's just
Conjurer's Bauble anymore, though. I don't think I have it in the deck
oh
anymore.
yeah, Conjurer's Bauble
Mm.
is a fun thing to loop with that, but
Well, I
it's an
mean,
option.
it is an option. I mean, I don't think we can Rings of Brighthearth Conjurer's Bauble back into the deck as well as this, though.
I believe if you copy the effect and choose new targets for the copy, you already have Conjurer's Bauble in the graveyard, so you can have it target itself. I'm gonna double check
If
that.
it works that way, then maybe it's still worth running. But it was a recovery effect for Oswald, where, frankly, you kind of just want to put them right back on the battlefield. So those kind of effects have been removed for things like Jolted Awake. At any rate, this is a really good card. I think we both agree. And I think we
Yeah.
both can move to the card adjacent it. Dewdrop Cure. Do you want to cover this one, Will?
Uh, I'm still
Oh, you're good. You're good.
curating my list if you want to go over it, because I remember what
I
it does,
will.
but I don't have it off the top of my head,
No,
like
it's
perfectly.
good. It's good. It's two generic and a white. Sorcery. Gift a card. Okay. Not at instant speed, though. Okay, so maybe not as explosive as, say, Dawn's Truce. However, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value each of 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If the gift was promised, instead return up to 3 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I'm drinking Stella. Excuse me. Is there a buried alive pile for this? I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's essentially like, isn't this essentially like playing Protean Hulk? Doesn't Protean Hulk like dumping 6 CMC worth of useless stuff onto the battlefields? Can't this do that?
Yeah, it's you can
Can you
let's see
bury
if
it
you
alive and then hit what 3 things?
so if you have Buried Alive, and let's see if we can try to keep this in like white and black.
Right. What's the one creature that, like, when a thing goes to your graveyard, you do 1 damage to target player? I forget all the Protean Hulk piles. I'm sorry. I know. I should remember these things. But I feel like there is one that is 2
You could
CMC
just
and under.
you could do Samwise Cauldron Familiar and Grand Abolisher. That's the line.
Samwise is 2 CMC?
Yep. That is a
Well,
line that you could do with the Dewdrop Cure and Buried Alive.
well, there
It's
you
the
go.
Protean Hulk line.
There you go. So there's that for you, but also it's just good value depending on what your deck is trying to do. Obviously, Dewdrop Cure feels kind of expensive, so if you're trying to turbo Nas, maybe you don't want this as a 3 CMC thing in there. But if you're playing a slower, grindier game, I do think that this is going to be fantastic for pulling out hate bears.
Yeah, it's gonna
So
be great at just saying, okay, I bring back Collector Oof, Drannith Magistrate, and Doppy Voidwalker. GG.
good job removing them earlier, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, no, but you get a card. You get a card. So
Yeah, and then you get to deal with them again. You remember how happy you were the first time they all got destroyed? Now you get to feel that same joy again if you can remove them.
That's all we're here. That's all we're trying to do for our opponents. We're just trying to let them relive
Dopamine.
those great,
Dopamine.
exactly, those amazing, fantastical moments they have playing with friends. You could do Abzan combo that people play in Pioneer, the one with the clue and landfall, says Nathan Brothers. Yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of combos, I think, for Dewdrop Cure, and there may even be two. I mean, like, that same thing, you wouldn't even need to gift someone a card. Like, the Grand Abolisher was there for protection, but you could honestly just go Cold and Familiar Samwise, right?
Yeah.
If one of these are OBM gift and deal 2 damage. What's that, Storm? OBM? What is that? Sounds like a software company. I don't know what OBM is. Let me know what the acronym is. Moving on to Jackdaw Savior. Again, these are my picks. Will might pick up the slack where I've left off with white, but these are just all the things I've noticed from this set. And again, I'll toss the ball to you guys as well if you want to talk about anything. But Jackdaw Savior, 2 generic and a white, 3/1 body bird cleric. Ooh, to Great Tribes. Flying. Whenever Jackdaw Savior or another creature you control with flying dies, return another target creature card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we have seen effects like this in the past. There are plenty within white. But Will, what are your thoughts on the Bird Savior? I'm gonna get the other art because I actually
There
really like
is
the other art.
a Azorius Sphinx that lets you search up flyers when it connects if you can name a card in an opponent's hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jackdaw Savior could be a combo with that, but I am not 100% sure. I think that that's something worth trying, but not something that's going to be revolutionary. But it made a very mediocre commander a bit better.
Yeah, so I mean, I do think that it's a good just recovery engine. I don't know how many decks are going to have a slot for it, but it is noteworthy. In the sense that we don't get too many of these. We've seen lots of reprints of the previous cards. We don't get too many from the graveyard to battlefield effects. And I'm sure there's something in there for a Teshar list, but my mind is not quick enough right now to come up with one on the fly for you. I did want to point this one out, though, as just another great value engine. It's similar in the sense of its recovery to like a Scrap Trawler. Scrap Trawler is two-hand, but it allows you to get the trigger off of other things, right? Artifacts in its case. So it's nice to see that there's one for creatures, namely flying. So it is limited in that sense, but there will be decks for this.
There is potentially some kind of combo using what's it called? Karmic Guide.
Flicker Wisp,
Karmic
Karmic
Guide or
Guide.
one of the Vesper Larks or something like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that just let you reanimate things that are higher cost than them and then sacrifice stuff to bring them back and then repeat, repeat, repeat. So there's combos here. Are they good? But
Up for you
they're
to
there.
decide. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, not everything can be Thassa's Oracle, okay, guys?
Yeah.
The next card I want to talk about is in the ends, and it is Nettleguard. I really like this card. I really like anything that reads like Caustic Caterpillar. Is this the best in that realm? It's up there. One generic and a white for a mouse soldier, 3/1 body, Valiant. Whenever Nettleguard becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, it gets +0/+2, so it becomes a 3/3. So really neat combat trick on top of whatever combat trick you're going to cast, but we're less concerned about that and more interested in paying one, sacrificing Nettleguard, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's just another piece of your arsenal, and say not Simic. The other one, my mind's only thinking about Simic, Selesnya. It's another piece in your arsenal for a Selesnya deck that you could just tutor this up and break a thing. Again, like Caustic Caterpillar is kind of the classic one. It's the inverse of this. It's a 1-drop with a 2-cost effect that causes you to sacrifice it. This is searchable by a few means, less so than a green creature, but it is another option for you if you wanted a body that does this.
Agreed. Generically good removal.
Yeah,
Good enough.
my favorite one still is that bug, though, from, was it Brothers? What is the name of that bug?
Haywire Might?
Yes, Haywire Might, that exiles the thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Can't
best.
hit creatures, but really good anyways.
Yeah, no. It exiles artifacts. That's all I remember. If you're not running it and you complain about the One Ring, that's a good
Run it.
option. Yeah, or any artifact strategy where there's like a just nasty artifact on the
If
battlefield.
you complain about the One Ring and you're not running it, then you don't have a right to talk. Shut up.
I mean, there's other things that exile artifacts, but we don't really mainline those often. It depends on what your deck is doing, but we're not too concerned. Like, let people run their strategy. Let's just run ours better, I feel is the general philosophy. My next card is called Starfall Invocation, if I can find it for you guys. There it is. Okay, so why did I write this down? I got this list down a while ago, so we're gonna rediscover this in my instance together. 3 generic and double white sorcery, gift a card. Destroy all creatures. If the gift was promised, return a creature card from put into the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. Oh, that's why. I get to give someone a card and take the best thing on the field. This is kind of a gnarly effect and not one we typically see in white. Stealing something from an opponent's graveyard is rather unique. You know, blue has a lot of like gain control effects, like historically, and black obviously allows you to do the same thing, usually via enchantment, or at least that's what we typically see. But can you run this for a particular strategy? I would say no. But the number of times a dockside hits the battlefield and is kind of just there, this is really good for propelling your game forward afterwards, because if the game is going to the late and you spend 5 for this, you probably get what, like 8 plus off the dockside, really depending on the length of the game. It's not bad. It's not bad as a minor option, but we're saying anything else could be really good in this instance too. Obviously, if it's a commander, they're probably going to put in the CZ as opposed to letting you have that option. And even still, if you were to pull this from the graveyard to the battlefield, they could remove that option. But it's a good card. I like it a lot. I don't know if you had this on your list, Will. I don't know if you find this viable.
I did not. I looked at it, but I'm like, 5 mana steal thing isn't that great. Wrath is not always the best
No.
option in cEDH because if you're in white, you probably like your board.
Yeah, yeah. Generally speaking, like the Winds of Abandon, I'd say, is the one mass removal effect we will commonly use, at least in a cEDH setting. It's a generic and a white, exiles a creature, and you can overload it. Usually your flexible options are the better options, but I do like this effect. And anytime there's a new Wrath, I kind of want to highlight it, so that's why I wrote it down. The last card I want to talk about, though, in white, is actually right next to this card. It's Steelburr Champion. For 2 generic and a white, offspring cost of a generic and a white, vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So there is a commander called Ishai who is really potent if disrespected. And I feel like Steelburr Champion is that same thing, but in the 99. I love the aggression of this card. Again, depending on your list, I feel like you could run this out and really steal games with damage if these go unchecked. And I say these because you're probably going to want to offspring this. But I like that we have, it's not quite the same. I think a shy is whenever an opponent casts a spell, just in general. But non-creature spell is a lot of things still. It's quite a lot of things. But anyway, I really like this card. I think this is pretty aggressive for like go wide, kill people strategies. That does feel more casual, and I'm not gonna lie, it probably is. Maybe this is something that what's her name wants to play, Winota. That would be kind of cute, though I guess less essential than just overrunning people. But yeah, Will, thoughts on this and any other cards you want to bring up?
Yeah, I think that just generally Offspring and Winota is kind of useful because it lets you compress your hand a little bit more.
Mm,
I think Winota prefers having like 1 and 2 drops for
yeah.
their creatures, so it may not be the most useful thing, but that is notable. If you see any Offspring in Boros, it's probably better because Winota exists, and there's a couple things that we'll see that are going to be abusable in Winota on
Mm-hmm.
this list later on. But yeah, going to my first pick that didn't get covered. This is one that I've talked to you about a lot, Patrick, and you might be building a deck around this card. Caretaker's Talent. It's funny because I saw somebody cover a video on this like yesterday, but Caretaker's Talent is 2 and white for an
Oh
enchantment
wow, wait.
class.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wait. But thank you, Christopher Robinson. I read the card. I did. It is only from your graveyard. You're absolutely right about that. So, and not as good as I recollected. Still fine. I think that you're only going to run it if your deck has something that is recoverable and good. Maybe your own commander. This is Auto Clued Tyam, the Steelburr Champion. I,
Yeah, because you get a bunch of counters on it and then it does the thing. So yeah,
sorry.
I was gonna mention Tyam, but I was like, Tyam probably has other things that I'd rather do. But Caretaker's Talent. 2 and a white for a enchantment class that says level 1. Whenever one or more tokens you control enter, draw a card. Trigger only once each turn. 1 white for level 2. Whenever this class becomes level 2, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. Level 3, 3 in white. Creature tokens you control get +2/+2. The reason why this is really funny and really dumb is if you copy this, you can keep spam level 2ing it over and over and over again, so that you get several of this on board, each drawing you another card every single time that you level it up. You eventually get to the point where on an opponent's turn or on your next turn, you make one token and draw like 20 cards. And we have Calyx, I believe, which is the Selesnya legendary commander, which
Yeah.
makes token copies of enchantments you control very easily. This is a very funny strategy for Calyx, and this is just a nice card in a couple decks anyways, because you can definitely run this in Kaikar or a couple other commanders because it draws you at least one card per turn, and in Kaikar it can draw you 4 cards per rotation if you're casting stuff. So this is just a very good card for multiple reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Calyx is definitely the best engine to run this. I'll bring Calyx on screen in case we forgot who this guy is. But guided by fate. So whenever Calyx or another enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. You can only do it once each turn, mind you. But yeah, you can create a copy of that. That's your token. Proceed.
Yeah.
Right? Not bad.
Well, my next card, and this is more on the list just because they're completing the meme, and I love this card. Murmuration.
Oh,
4 and a white for an enchantment. Birds you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, for each spell you've cast this turn, create a 1/2 bird, 1/2 blue bird creature token with flying named Stormcrow. We got Crowstorm. Crowstorm making storm crows.
mm.
Uh, this is also just kind of a funny card because it's an anthem effect. It can make you a lot of bodies. It could be useful in some decks that actually care about punching people in the face for the win and can storm off a little bit, but it's more so on my list for the fact that it's a joke. It's funny, it's lovable, it's notable.
It's noteworthy.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
noteworthy. I'm not gonna recommend it to anybody, but
well,
it's there.
I like it. I like it. Maybe a casual birds deck could enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean it's an anthem for your birds that makes birds. What else? What else could you want?
Yeah, so the
And
storm crows are technically 2/3s, is what you're saying, with
yeah,
vigilance?
they're 2/3 vigilance flyers, and
It's
it's funny
pretty
because
good.
I had a friend who I built him a deck that's end game was making it so that players couldn't untap and all their stuff entered tapped, and
Hmm.
you beat everybody down with a vigilant stormcrow. So this is just that on roids.
Wider, go wider.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
my final card in white is Whiskervale Forerunner. So this is 3 in a white for a creature mouse bard with 3 power, 4 toughness, and it has a valiant effect that whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a creature from among them that costs 3 or less, and then you may put that onto the battlefield this turn. If you don't, then put it into your hand. Put the rest of the cards onto the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a mini Winota, and it kind of does it. It's a card that wants the same packages as Nadu, except it's in white, so it can run all of the dumb core cards, core enclave or whatever they're called, that say redirect 1 damage from this to target creature. And if you mix it with this, you're getting a creature into play on each player's turn. Which, if you're playing any kind of stacks deck, this is going to be really dumb and lock people out of the game very quickly. If you have a commander that can target this on enemy turns as well, it becomes even more dumb. Uh, really good card, really good utility.
I like it. You know, anytime I see for something limited to once a turn, I'm a little underwhelmed knowing that there are cards that do twice a turn. But I agree with you. It's pretty gnarly.
Because what's the card called? The card that we're already getting a special guest version in the new set.
Have those been revealed?
In the we got one card from Duskmore that's been spoiled. That's a collected company reprint for
Mm.
guest. But this is basically a collected company, but slower, but can go bigger.
I like it. Guys, and if you like any other white cards, let us know. But I want to go to the card I mentioned off the bat there that was not in white, but definitely in blue. Dowerport Mage. So, for a generic and a blue 1/3 body frog wizard, whenever one or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. Do you have a strategy? That
There are several
Yeah, I know,
things that you
I
can
know.
do with this.
But then you can also just pay a generic and a blue, return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. Um, I don't know. It's pretty good. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I think it's really cool as like a Naru outlet. But I also think it's just a really good effect with any flicker things. The thing is, it's not limited to once a turn, so if you're able to flicker the thing indefinitely, like a lot of Azorius decks can, you'll draw your deck.
Yeah, and the other funny things are bounce effects work really well as well. With a Shrieking Drake, you have a reusable opt. Just keep replaying Shrieking Drake and drawing the card over and over and over again. You can go infinite with that second effect with Village Bellringer or Great Oak Guardian or a couple other things. Village Bellringer's the best for being inexpensive though.
Yeah.
And on top of that, this does not say if it this does not say it if the creature gets exiled and returns or if it goes to your hand. If somebody has a Rest in Peace or a Dothy Voidwalker out, whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card because they don't actually die.
Yeah, any
So
replacement effects. Yeah, it does neuter that.
you can do some dumb things with this if somebody has a Dothy Voidwalker out. Like if you're playing Kaikar and you run this for whatever reason, somebody plays Dothy Voidwalker and you just go, sack a spirit, get a red, draw a card. It's gross. There are some very, very niche scenarios where this goes from like oh, it's a nice engine to, oh, I'm drawing my entire deck in one turn.
Yeah, I didn't even think Kaikar. I mean, I guess you're in Jeskai, so you could technically run your own Rest in Peace if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid. I wish it did offer itself protection by returning, not another, but itself, but that's fine. They had to limit it to some extent, and that's totally fair.
Understandable. And
Sultai
also
Food
just
Chain. Sultai Food Chain,
yeah,
baby.
Food Chain is another good one. It's just a very, very good card in general, and it's definitely getting slotted into Tulane, and there's a couple other decks that are probably gonna wanna run this just because draw.
I'll let you cover this next one, Will. I know it's one you
Yes.
enjoy. It starts with an F.
Yeah, Fortune Teller's Talent. I have been nerding out about this card for the past month. So Fortune Teller's Talent. One blue for an enchantment class that at level 1 says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. For 3 and a blue, you get level 2, and as long as you've cast a spell this turn, you may play cards from the top of your library. Worse Future Sight, but a Future Sight. Then, you can pay 2 and a blue for level 3, and spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less. The reason this card is really dumb, Sensei's Divining Top combos. Because this is both your Future Sight and your cost reducer, so you now have a 2-card combo with Sensei's Divining Top. You can also easily find this with Dizzy Spell, the transmute card in blue for finding a 1-drop, so you can actually find this in blue, meaning that you can find it in mono blue very easily, and you can find it in Azorius very easily, meaning that you have an actual compact win in Azorius now. And Sensei's Divine Top you can find in a million and one ways. That's not
Yeah.
going to be hard to find. But on top of that, you can find this card with Zur the Enchanter, which gives you a whole new game plan for Zur, because instead of doing Necropont's shenanigans, you can do a Control Zur deck that tries to find Fortune Teller's Talent to get a little bit of value until you find Sensei's Divining Top and then win the game.
Yeah, I feel like you're probably still gonna mainline for those Zerg players out there. You're probably still mainline Necro in that deck, but I like this a lot. I do think it's costly to level it up, right? The first,
Yeah.
initial casting is cheap, 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 cheap. The second level is really amazing. Just the ability to play cards is really amazing. Again, that is 5 CMC, mind you. but it's like Will said, this is your future sight. So it's reasonable. It's expensive. Future sight's 4, though.
It's 5. It's 5, but it's blue, blue, blue 2 versus this, which is
Okay.
blue, blue 3.
Right, and then you can kind of do it in your own time. Future sight's good, but the cost reduction here is kind of absurd. I definitely agree with you. Like that, this is a really cool engine for Sensei's Dividing Top. I know.
Can I also say cost reduction by 2? That is really dumb because ignore the whole Sensei's Divining Top loop. Put this in Joyra. And then if you ramp out on one turn, then you just slam this and pay mana into it. You play cards off the top with Joyra, which will let you draw into other cards. But then you can play your 2 mana rocks as
Right,
fast mana off the top.
right. That Arcane Signet looks really good.
It is so dumb that it's
Yeah,
2.
I think
And it
it
doesn't
is.
even just say playing stuff from the top. If you flashback anything, it costs 2 less. Playing your commander is 2 less. Doing anything from anywhere other than the hand is 2 less. So this has utility outside of just doing Sensei's things.
I do think that it's probably 2 because it is a lot of work to get there.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I think in a casual game this might be a cool value engine, and I think in cEDH you could run this depending on the color of your list. I do think Azorius might want to fool with this with Sensei's Dividing Top for all the reasons we'll highlight it. But yeah, Fortune Teller Stone.
Doesn't have clean wins, now they do.
Uh, it's also a historic spell that costs 1, so it's fine. That level up cost is
It
not
is
nothing
not
to well.
historic. Historic is only sagas, it's a class.
Yeah. Trickster says that's not nothing though, Will. The level up cost. I don't
Yeah.
disagree. Sour, it's probably a Kinnan card. Sour that it's probably a Kinnan card? I mean, you make a shit ton of mana. Yeah.
That's either Dowerport or
Dower.
oh yeah, Dower. Yeah. I got it right.
Yeah.
I guessed right.
We're moving on to another talent though. And this one's got some cute art, I gotta say. I like the little T set at the bottom here. For a generic and a blue, whenever a creature you control enters, surveil 1. You can level this up. I'll let you read the cost. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. And then whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may exile it, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. Don't know why I wrote this down. I might have wrote this down for Fortune Teller's talent.
So, this is actually pretty decent. It's not like insane, but this is somewhat worth noting. So the first part, if you just play it as a 2-drop, you can surveil, you can fix your graveyard and filter through or fix your library and filter your graveyard a little bit, which is pretty nice because we have the Hound in black that does the same thing but only works on small creatures, I think. This is just a nice effect for the first part. For the second part, a little bit of evasion can be good in Timid decks and a couple other things. The final part, however, you can start flickering your entire board constantly, and if you have any kind of ETB, you can grind a bunch of value. So this is just a library fixer that can fill your graveyard for Underworld Breach lines or for Reanimator lines that gives you some evasion for decks that need evasion, and then gives you a ton of flicker value. So this card isn't crazy, but this card is pretty good. It's worth noting, even though it isn't like insane.
Yeah, even just that first effect of surveilling. There's plenty of creature lines that will just let you surveil your whole deck away if you wanted to. It's not bad. I don't know what else has that kind of level of surveil at 2. I'm sure there's something else that exists. But yeah, I do think it's layered, being a class that you can level up. The next card I want to talk about, though, is Into the Floodmaw.
Yeah.
You want to cover this one?
Into the Floodmaw. 1 blue for an instant that says gift a tapped fish. Return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If you gifted a card, instead return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Chain of Vapor. But they don't get to continue the chain, and they can't redirect it to your stuff.
And they get a fish.
Yeah, tapped fish.
I wish it was a tapped crab. I mean, the illustration has very specifically a Alaskan king crab, it seems. But this is really, really, really sick. This is an amazing effect. Again, as Will suggested, it's a chain of paper, right?
debatably better Chain of Vapor in my opinion.
Yeah, it's weird. I know Chain has been in the cEDH arsenal for so long. It's one of the only real playable chains, and
A Chain of Smog would like to have a word.
yeah, well, Chain of Smog wasn't really effective until that Witherbloom Apprentice, right? I mean, it's fine. It's a fine card. All the chains are interesting in their own way, but Chain of Vapor is clearly far and away the best. At its own detriment. But generally speaking, people, unless it's later in the game and you know you need to shut down the other lead opponent, you don't really continue the chain. So you kind of get away with it. So realistically, is it good to give someone a tapped fish? And I would say yes. I would say yes. The prominence of, say, a deck like Timna X, it's great to give the person a blocker.
Tap
It's
fish.
I know, but they'll untap it
Oh,
eventually.
later,
It's like
yeah.
it's a blocker later, or if they're next in line, like they'll get the fish untapped. But I do like this spell a lot. I don't know if people are gonna rip Chain of Vapor out. Or if you just run both.
You run both. Honestly, I
Yeah,
think you may rip Cyclonic Rift for this because most people I know never overload Cyclonic Rift because the games end too quickly. So this is just potentially a worthy replacement for Cyclonic Rift as another bounce target permanent effect for low mana.
unless they are running Flare of Dupe. Can't bounce your own stuff is the only downside. Right.
Yeah, it is less combo potential because with Chain of Vapor you could theoretically bounce your dock side, then bounce somebody else's thing, and then do what you want to do with the dock side. So it's better removal than Chain of Vapor, but it is less combo potential because
Mm,
I've had this conversation with a bunch of friends, and it is good as just I need to remove a thing, but if you need to do some kind of like bombastic, insane turn of bouncing your fast mana and then bouncing the Archon of Emeria and then playing all your fast mana back out and then winning the game. Chain of Vapor is better if you need to do that. If you
yeah.
just need to bounce Drannith Magistrate, this is probably better. But yeah, it's and the one other thing is Chain of Vapor is not always playable only because you can say, okay, I can bounce, let's say I can bounce Shuko or something, and Nadu's completely tapped out. Then Nadu can go, okay, I'm gonna Chain of Vapor my Mana Crypt, replay Mana Crypt, replay Shuko, continue the combo. So there's sometimes when you just can't actually use Chain of Vapor as a piece of removal, where this can be a piece of removal. So, eh,
No, I don't disagree. And I agree with you guys. It's probably definitely worth a consideration in those blue list as to what it takes over. I don't really know. I mean, I know a lot of people that run Snap to just hit their own dock side, right? Um, and I don't know if this would take that spot, right? Because like you were saying, Chris, it is limited to opponents. But the next card I want to talk about is maybe my favorite blue card from the set. It's really good. It's X and a blue, 1/1 body, bird bard, flying. You may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird. Except it's a bird in addition to its other types and has flying. You're already paying the blue, so insert X value to copy anything.
most of the time this is just a phantasmal image on somebody's dockside.
Better
Or
and better image. It's
yeah,
just better because you could again you could target this and do it again with your chain of vapor. I think Mockingbird is really great. I think it should see play. It's one of those we have a fleshy or flesh duplicate was the last great 2 CMCer that did this, and obviously depending on what you're trying to copy, this is limited in its scope. Like you're not going to want to spend too much on X for this to gain value. But I think if you're taking anything that's 3 CMC and under, you're probably good. Hell, I'd even be fine playing this for 1 blue to get like a turn 1 S% on all of my own.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it.
Even copying Birds of Paradise, this is pretty good. It's a 1 blue mana for a Birds of Paradise.
I like the Bird Glockside. Yeah, it's pretty good. Laughing at you. No, no, no. I'm laughing as you. It's so damn good. I think this card's really awesome. Will, I don't know. Both arts are really good too. I just want to highlight this one. Any other thoughts on Mockingbird? Like, do you think that this is better than a Fimage? Should be played alongside a Fimage? Should just be ignored?
It will be played as another Fimage in most decks that do need Fimages, because
Mm.
I think like Nadu's definitely playing this just because it's a worse fleshy slash phantasmal image, but it's a 3 mana reset Nadu, which isn't bad,
Mm-hmm.
or 2 mana copy a Dockside, or just copy a random dork for the sake of copying a random dork.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1 drop that you can just play as a 1 drop in Nadu. It's just a good card in general, and I
That's true.
think it's gonna see play.
That is interesting. Like just for the sake of, like it coming in and being another delighted halfling. It's like whatever. It does I just wanted another one drop. And it's a May too. Like you don't even need an option if you just want a body. So depending on where you are in your Nadu game, that's a good question, Trickster. Like, would you play a third clone in any deck? And I would say yes, probably Nadu. Um, I don't know how many other lists are going to want to remove and or consider this over one of the other two, and those two being really Flesh Duplicate and Phantasmal Image.
It's funny because so many Nadu decks aren't running Phantasmal Image, and I still hard disagree with that because I'm like, it's Phantasmal Image, which is a good card, but it's also 2 mana reset Nadu.
The
People
only, I
say
mean, you just can't target it, but I mean, I guess you still
yeah, but
can
it's
depending
you
on what
don't
you're doing.
need it's if you have a any other creature, you get 2 Nadu triggers. If you have Phantasmal Image, you get 13 Nadu triggers.
Right. Depending on
It's
where you are with your board, like you shouldn't be bricking because you can't target the Nadu at that point. Like if you have 7 creatures and you're trying to continue the chain, Fimage is a really good option. It does, get removed by anything, but so would anything else, right? Like if it was targeted by anyone, yes, then your Shuku line would get stopped, your Light Greaves would get stopped or whatever. Kark gets better. Kark gets a better clone.
true, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love this card. I think it's probably my favorite from the set. I like the flexibility of this, and I like that it's immune from a lot of the weaknesses that we've seen from other low end clone effects. It's just limited by how much mana you have, and again, it's not that like in my mind, I don't mind paying 4 to get someone's Crom. Like that's okay. It's like I was running that in my deck. I just like that it isn't it's equal to its value, and it considers the blue and not just X, because it doesn't feel like I'm getting the shit end of the stick when I'm playing this card. Like I'm getting an equivalent thing for just having this card in my deck. I like it a lot. All right. At any rate, I want to talk about. It should be. I think I mixed up some cards. Because I'm seeing something that isn't here. So we're gonna move to
What's
this
the
one.
name?
This one's no. I'm moving on to Portent of Calamity, which is actually past the other card we should talk about. So why don't we start with Polywog Prodigy? Will you?
Yeah, I was like, hold on.
Yeah. Again, my order here is not precise. You cover Polywog and I'll talk about Portent.
Yeah, Polywog Prodigy is 1 and a blue for a creature, frog, wizard with 1 power, 3 toughness, and evolve. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell with mana value less than Polywog Prodigy's power, draw a card. This is Mystic Remora, but it doesn't have cumulative upkeep, and it's on a body, so you can find it. Yes, it's 1 more mana, but it draws you a card when anybody plays a 0 cost, and if you ever trigger Evolve, it's working
Mm-hmm.
on most things people are playing, and if you trigger Evolve a second time, it is triggering on basically everything.
Right. So if you turn one this, pretty much like I would say it's even valuable if its power was just it's valuable right as it is. I think it gets exceedingly more valuable as you cast creatures, and just being a 2/4 with this wording is pretty outstanding. I think that Polywog Prodigy might be a new staple in blue.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know. I mean, like, are you going to jam this in every blue list as just another draw engine?
it is the missing link between Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora, in my
That's true.
opinion.
That's true. I don't disagree. I do think that it's good that they they did limit it in this sense, right? I mean, thank God they didn't make it a 0-3. But
Thank God that they didn't make it less than or equal to.
mm, mm,
That would be gross because off the bat, that's just play it turn one. It triggers off of everything people are doing turn one.
that'd be pretty nasty though. Yeah, it's good. I don't know if it's gonna shape. I at face value, it feels like it's a new staple, but I want to see it played.
Yeah,
But I mean, I could easily see this being played turn one and then turn two proceed to start building out a board of creatures. You were suggesting Kinnan, or who's did I don't know what list this wants to be in, but I feel like Kinnan might be one.
this goes in pretty much every list, in my opinion. I think any deck that needs a little bit more card draws running this, any deck that wants a third Rhystic Study outside of Mystic or Mora probably wants this. This is just a very good card.
Hmm. The bird clone makes new Tameshi reality architect lines possible by cloning a creature land for 1 mana. That's it's actually true. That's sick. Because you could have like a man land and just cast it. Be like, yeah, it's a man land. It's kind of cool for one. For one. Yeah, but I'm curious to see what you guys think about the Polywog Prodigy. It's definitely one of the more interesting cards from the set. I want to hear if you think it belongs in every deck, handful of decks. 3 power is the sweet spot, right? Yeah, 2 and under. Yeah, I'm jamming it in Chilean list. Anything that cares about creatures. Yeah. Does Polywog replace Ledger Shredder? Does Polywog replace Ledger Shredder? Ledger Shredder is limited, right? It's a second spell each turn. You get to loot.
Yeah, second spell each player plays per turn. This is better Leisure Shredder.
Uh,
I honestly, I have never been fond of Leisure Shredder.
yeah, I mean, I feel like Ledger Shredder is probably gonna. It's card quality versus card draw, right?
Yeah,
So there's that to note. But I do think Ledger Shredder does the thing before this starts doing the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're on the play and you have Polywog, then you'll probably get a few draws,
yeah.
right? Then there's no option out of it. You're gonna get the draws. So just mutate Polywog with Ledger Shredder.
True, yeah.
Right?
Leisure Shredder does trigger the evolve. It's a 2/1.
Play both. Yeah. Porque no los dos. Fairy Mastermind out now. Fairy Mastermind. It
Yeah,
beats
Fairy
Fairy.
Mastermind is another good one.
Yeah.
It feels like better Fairy Mastermind.
Right. And I think that's the important question. And, I'm kind of talking about it earlier with the bounce effect. But when we see new cards like this, there are such a density of really good cards in at least a CDH setting. And I should have said that off the bat that we're looking at this through the optics of a CDH player. But you need to consider what is coming out of the list. And yeah, probably Fairy Mastermind if you're on Fairy Mastermind. But Portent of Calamity. X and a blue. Reveal the top X sorcery. Reveal the top X cards of your library. For each card type, you may exile a card of that type from among them. Put the rest of them in your graveyard. You may cast a spell from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost rather, if you exiled 4 or more cards this way. Then put the rest of the exiled cards into your hand. This is really good. This is really good. So let me just get once it's just a value effect, right? It's just a decent value effect. But ultimately, you may exile a card from the top of that type from among them. Reveal the top X cards of your library. Put the rest into your graveyard. So basically, what this does is once you have infinite mana, depending on your deck, you can use this as an outlet very easily to just get to Thassa Oracle play and take the best pieces of removal / interaction you can from that pile and cast everything for free, even though it probably doesn't matter when you have infinite mana. I like this quite a lot as just a payoff, but I also kind of like it as a value effect as well. Having to have 4 cards for the effect to be free is tricky. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, new Atraxa. I read this card wrong 4 times before realizing that it is meh. Yeah, it's
pay X, draw X cards if you hit enough card types, and then cast 1 for free if you hit enough card types.
yeah.
It will usually be like 3 mana, draw 2 in most scenarios, and then if you can pay a ton of mana into it, it's gonna let you cast something for free and then getting an instant to your hand and a flash creature or a couple other things into hand. I don't like it.
I like it. My issue is that it probably doesn't have a spot in any list. Like if again, I'll bring up Naramea. There's plenty of opportunities for you to just make infinite mana, and at those times you just need an outlet. So like this is good in those instances, but
Might as well just run Nexus of Fate or Blue Sun Zenith.
right. But I mean, you probably need the as many options as you can get, frankly. If you have this though, it's fine there. But what is that? There's a couple of ways to recover this too. If you have like High Tide, this is obviously more valuable if you're mono blue. It's probably an option for mono blue. I wouldn't say it's anything that you'd want to consider for list with 2 or more colors though. I wish it was instant, or if Portent was instant. Yeah, it would be more flexible. I think that's one of its hangups too. Being sorcery limits its range of effectiveness quite a bit. But the last card I want to bring up is Valley Floodcaller.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a good card.
Yes, agreed.
2 generic and a blue. Otter Wizard 2/2 body. Flash. You may cast non-creature spells as though they had flash.
You could stop there, and the card's already good enough.
Yeah, I don't
more.
even. I'm not sure I need. I mean, well, okay. Whenever you cast non-creature spell, birds, frogs, otters, and rats you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. Untap them. Now, that's actually not bad if we consider the creature we just saw that lets you pay 2 to flicker a thing, not flicker a thing, but put it back into your hand. Is that not? Is that's a frog, right? Yeah. So I'm sure there's some combo in that last part, but just the flash non-creature
This is
spell.
just Jeskai Ascendancy tapped onto a Shimmer Mirror, but better Shimmer Mirror. Like it. If you're running Birds of Paradise, this lets you make mana whenever you cast a non-creature spell. If you're running some random frog dork, this makes you mana when you cast a non-creature spell. The bottom effect is very good if you're in Simic, which is just very nice because it's Jeskai Ascendancy in Simic, and you have some weird dorks in Simic. But yeah, that last effect is actually quite relevant in certain situations because it sometimes is just a paradox engine.
Yeah, it's really gnarly. I mean, is there a way to make like all your creatures such and such tribe? Such
There's
and
Maskwood Nexus, and there's the Arcane adaptation.
that's pretty sick to just
Yeah,
have in your back pocket.
Elfball, let's go.
Yeah. Damn. I have nothing else to say about this.
Yeah, it's a good card.
It's a really
You're
good card.
definitely running this in Shimmer/Rust Zer because another flash thing. Also, just making it so that you can cast sorceries at instant speed is sometimes dumb.
It's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb. Will, any other blue cards I missed?
Only one, and it's funny because you covered literally every single one I brought up until that last one. Splash Portal. Splash Portal is the last one. It is 1 blue for a sorcery that says exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. If it was a bird, frog, otter, or rat, draw a card. So it's a Essence Flux, but sorcery speed, but sometimes draws you a card. Essence Flux is very, very necessary in the decks that want Essence Flux, so this is just another copy of a good card.
Oh, yeah, Nathan Brothers. We discussed all the legendaries in a previous stream that I would recommend you check out still after this. But if you guys want to talk about any legendaries, you can still bring them up. Again, I'll probably defer to that other stream, the tier list guide, but we can talk about Kitsa. Kitsa's quite good. I don't disagree with you, but we can bring up Kitsa really quick.
Kit's
And if there's any
Looter
other, if there's any other blue cards you guys want to talk about.
that was it. That was my only one. But Kitsa's a looter. Kitsa is a prowess creature with vigilance, so it's a good blocker/attacker, and Kitsa is a nice Chronceptor stapled onto a creature. Kitsa's going to go in the 99 of a lot of decks, or not a lot of decks. Kitsa's going to go in the 99 of a few decks because general utility and combo potential.
Yeah, I mean, does Kitsa go in Kinnan? Capture insert sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. I mean, it's a tutorable way to get to your Isochron line if you want to make mana that way, but I guess you don't really need Isochron Scepter in Kinnan. Does
Yeah,
he? Does he do?
maybe you run it in Kennen, but that's like a very, very hard maybe.
Uh, the with RB Otter from way back being banned, otters have been ruined.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
literally.
yeah. I mean, otters are fine. I'm sure
I,
we're gonna get more.
yeah, Lutri is one of those cards that I'm like, if it gets unbanned, it's probably not seeing any play. Well, technically, Lutri will see play everywhere, but Lutri will not be used anywhere.
Um. Oh, why did I? Okay, it's been a while since I've looked at this list, so we're gonna cover black now. The first card I have is Bandit's Talent. Let me see if there's a good reason as to why I labeled this outside of it being a
Well,
potential
I had
Tiny
Bandit's
Bones.
Talent too,
Oh,
so
well
I
then,
can talk about it if you can't.
why don't you start us off then?
All right, Bandit's Talent is 1 in a black for an enchantment class that on level 1, when it enters, each opponent discards 2 cards unless they discard a non-land card. Then, you can pay a black for level 2 at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. If that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, they lose 2 life. Then you can pay 3 in a black for level 3. At the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card for each opponent who has 1 or fewer cards in hand.
Hmm.
I had this card on my list because any way to bounce this, any way to copy it, like in Zur with all the copy enchantments or anything, will let you slowly shred people's hands down, and it is kind of brutal and kind of funny.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Tiny Bones is kind of cool with this, obviously.
Yeah.
Tiny Bones cares. I like this card a lot. I think it's between levels 1, obviously, and 2. It's not a high ask to get there. And it's quite good for lists that care about making folks discard. And mass discard is a strategy we don't often see outside of, say, a Tiny Bones, but any other leader that's going to give us like mass discard is going to love this, right? I like this card quite a lot. Mass discard's a strategy I'd love to work into my arsenal again, but I can't think of any new legendaries that really benefits you for making people discard.
Other
Sadly,
tiny bones.
other Tiny Bones, I guess, but I like the original Tiny Bones.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do have other cards in black though. I think black is one of the shorter list I have here. Yeah, outside of multi. There is Cruel Claws Heist, a great legendary that we probably won't bring up, but again, if you want to talk about it, we can here. Double black sorcery, gifted card. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, exile that card. If a gift is promised, you may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana of any type to cast it. This is really, really cool as a like reveal and remove effect. I think for double black it feels like a high ask, but if you have the mana late game, this is really good for shutting down certain strategies. Like, in certain instances, you could just exile the thing and leave it exiled, but, Underworld Breach is good in any deck, really. So, I don't know, like, depending on what you hit. And, wait for them. Like, if they've cast a Mana Crypt, then odds are likely that Imperial Seal was something of just value, right? Because normally those top deck tutors, they're going to find, like, the fast mana, unless they've, like, jetted out as much fast mana as they've needed. And then you can kind of feel out Cruel's Claws Heist and be like, okay, now's probably a good time to heist that value card.
And
Turgrid, yeah.
the funny thing is, you yoink a card from somebody and you give anybody else a card. So it's not like oh yeah, I'm gonna hurt you, but then give you a little bit of a benefit back. No, no, no. You go, oh, Nadu, you played a turn 1 land dork but kept your opening 7. I'm gonna take that obvious Shuko from your hand.
Right, right. Oh my god. I mean, who knows? Maybe I need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it could be good for me. The next card I want to talk about is Darkstar Augur.
Two
There's
bobs in a trench coat.
pretty much what it is. So we've got this art's really crazy too. I feel like I saw this other one and not this one. This one's really gnarly too. They're both good.
Yeah, it's such an edgy alternate art. but I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely looks like a
Bat with a
warlock.
scythe.
It's giving me Gundam Wing Death Scythe vibes. Shout out Gundam Wing. For 2 generic in a black, Bat Warlock, 2/3 body, offspring of 1 black, flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand. This life equal to its mana value. Is exactly as Will said. 2 bobs in a trench coat with a scythe. It's good. It's good. I think a lot of people are off of the Dark Confidant path these days, but I still like it as a card in a grindier list, a slower list. I think this Bat Warlock has wings. Thoughts?
It's it's playable when the meta slows down. The issue is right now the meta is very fast.
Yeah, people like going fast.
Going
Everyone's
fast makes me feel alive. My heart beats in hyperdrive. Do you
oh,
think you can win only if I lose? Just let my destiny choose. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
damn. Is that like the theme song from that?
That is the opening song for Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. It is the best opening song for any anime ever. I will fight people on that
Send
because
it to
I
me
remember as
afterwards.
a kid and I still quote it today.
Send it to me afterwards. I don't think I've heard this song. Dark Confidant is for Adnos decks, right? Dark Confidant is for Adnos decks? Uh
Uh, it's for control decks that kind of want Adnos but don't want to
yeah,
turbo
you
into
don't really want to
Adnos.
reveal the Adnos. Like that hurts. And you don't want to reveal a PETA, heaven forbid, if you're running both in that same list, which you likely are. But the
Yeah,
next card I want to talk about is Hazel's Brewmaster. I
card's busted.
huh?
Card's busted. Hazel's Brewmaster. Dumb.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. So for 3 generic and a black, 3/4 body, Squirrel Warlock. There you go. That's your favorite word. Hit monkey. You want to brought up squirrels? Yeah. Menace. Whenever Hazel Brewmaster enters or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and create a food token. Foods you control have all active abilities of creature cards exiled with Hazel Brewmaster. So, obviously you can entomb a Razaketh and have a food that's a Razaketh. Which
You're
is
talking
just,
about buried alive lines. Here's
yeah,
Hazel's Brewmaster plus whatever.
yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a really good setup piece. Obviously, if there is a food strategy in your deck, this does help you get the token to get there. It's important to note that the cards you're exiling from the graveyard, it doesn't have to be a creature. So if you just need the food to start some sort of line of play, you get the food, right? It is 4 CMC. I hear you. It's definitely 4 CMC, but black is the color of reanimation. So, it's like Will was saying. It's probably part of a pile, or you can cheat this out some other way. You don't need to necessarily cast this for 4, but at least it's 3 generic and a black, so it's not too difficult to get out. Asmodeus says hi. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's better than Bob because it's flying and makes a 1/1 flyer as well for Timna triggers. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
Nathan Brothers about the dark augur, dark star
Yeah.
augur, excuse me.
And for Hazel's Brewmaster, the thing everybody talks about with it, devoted druid, because that food does not care if it has -1/-1 counters on it, and it doesn't have summoning sickness to make you that infinite green mana.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah. It's the cup holder combo, but now it's graveyard. It's the
Yeah, it's
drink for your cup holder. It's the
yeah.
brewmaster. It's your drink for your cup holder. If for those who don't know, the other devoted druid combo is a swift reconfiguration. It's a flash
Mm,
aura that makes it so a
vehicle.
creature becomes a vehicle, and the flavor text on is like something 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 bear with cup holders. Um,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. So it's a on the bright side, the bear now has or now hold up. The bear now had cup holders. Oh, it's yeah, it's referring to it in past tense. But on the bright side, the bear now had cup holders. So it's the cup holder combo, and now we have brewmaster for the drink for your cup holder. And the best part is devoted druid kills itself very easily, so that you will always have it in the graveyard for brewmaster to
True.
do the combo. I think with hoarding brood scale, or not hoarding brood scale, sorry.
Broodlord.
What is it called? Is it hoarding brood scale?
You talking about the
The
green one? The
Eldrazi.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, Hoarding Brood Scale plus Hazel's Brewmaster gives you enough random infinite mana generation effects that I think that TNT might be a bit more viable now.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
Other funny thing you can do, Cinder Haze Wretch, the black devoted druid that says tap target player discards a card, activate only during your turn, and then you can put a minus counter on it to untap it. Mix that with Hazel's Wretch and make everybody go down to 0 and then be hellbent for the entire rest of the game.
There's your card for the talent, Bandit's talent. That's pretty
Oh,
gnarly. Yeah.
it's brutal.
So, what decks do you guys see Hazel's Brewmaster in? Please let me know. Obviously, you need a payoff for all that mana with Devoted Druid, but there's plenty of piles you can make with this that I think are going to be pretty valuable. That's one vicious food. Do you let Took eat it, or do you do other stuff with it? I guess it
Uh,
depends on where you're at.
yeah, I know. It's so good though, because even if you just hit a dork, you just start making sorry about that. If you hit a dork, you just start making emerald mox emeralds.
Mm, mm. Yeah, Exile, Ballista, and Phyrexian Devour. Why not? Brewmaster
That's
with
another
black
one.
black discard creature, love it in Turgrid. Pat, could you put up the Black Druid card Will just mentioned? Yes.
Uh, Cinder Haze Wretch.
Is that one word? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Cinderhaze.
Cinder Haze is one word, and then Wretch.
So it's 4 generic and a black. This is an older Shadowmoor card. I think it just has the one printing. But you
Yeah,
can tap it to make target player discard a card. Play this ability only during your turn. So sorcery speed. The good bit of news is that you can put a -1/-1 counter on Cinderhaze Wretch and proceed. So as Will was suggesting, and because of this is a food, if you happen to exile this with Hazel's Brewmaster, you'll have a food that's an elemental shaman, not an elemental shaman, that does this. Yeah.
yeah. Just saying. By the way, Narset Wheel of Fortune, good game. This is basically Black's way of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if you set this up. It's pretty easy to cheat out too, right? So if you do you're buried alive and you do your buried alive and reanimate, what is that? That's 4 mana, the cost of Hazel's Brewmaster, and you just set this up. I mean, hellbent on you could do that on turn 1. Imagine being hellbent on turn 1 and like no one has an answer for you. God. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah,
I
dream.
play the game. It's like, did you draw a land? You'll get to play it. But if you didn't, I'll make you discard it. Exile Lotus Bloom and all your foods are Black Lotus.
Uh, Only gets creature effects.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I like where your head's at. So I guess you could do the lines, the tiger, diamond tiger. What's it
Yeah,
called?
it's something like Diamond Lion.
Diamond line. If you want Lotus Bloom. But don't you, isn't it just like Lion's Eye Diamond?
Yeah, it's Lion's Eye Diamond, but you have to tap it.
Which, it doesn't matter too much, I guess, with, your food. But
Yeah.
yeah, Diamond Lion's kind of cool with it as well, but I don't know if I would do that. But yeah, Cinder Haze is probably where it's at, in my opinion. If you just want something that's purely value driven, I think that's definitely where it's at. The last black card I want to bring up, though, is Osteomancer Adept.
Yeah.
Speaking of squirrels, baby. For a generic and a black, my wife is listening to something crazy out there. I'm so curious. For generic and a black, 2/2 Squirrel Warlock, Death Touch. Until the end of turn, you may cast creature spells from your graveyard by foraging in addition to paying at their cost. Excuse me. Their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that creature enters with a finality counter on it. So to forge, exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food. It's pretty good.
Yeah. It's Underworld Breach reusable, but you can only cast the things from your graveyard once. If you can flicker those creatures, they will lose the finality counter and come back without the finality counter. So there's probably combos here on top of the fact that it's just a very good value card. Really good card.
I like it. I mean, I think for 2 generic, this is one of the better. I mean, this is one of the better recovery effects we've seen in Black at this cost. It's slow, mind you. I get that, but still quite good. And the Death Touch is nothing to scoff at. It's just a really good blocker for anything that's on the ground. And then you can obviously tap this in advance if your creatures have flash, which they potentially could with that blue guy. No, he's non-creature.
Yeah, non-creature.
Oh, never mind. Okay. But yeah, Steelmancer, I just want to bring up because it's a new recovery effect. I don't know which list really care for it, but it's there for you.
Stacks.
Art is metal
Many
as fuck.
stacks. Let's go.
Art is metal as fuck. I totally agree. There's an artifact that does this too with finality. Not sure of the CMC. I think I know what you're talking about, but I forget the name. Finality counters also make sure you draw with that frog
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. They don't hit graveyard ever.
because it's a replacement.
Oh, Tarian's journal. Tarian's journal is one of my favorite artifacts actually. You can tap it to sacrifice an artifact or creature to draw a card only at sorcery speed. Pay 2, tap it, and discard your hand to transform it. The backside is a land that taps for black, and you can tap it, and you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it enters with a finality counter on it. It's a card from Ixalan. We talked about it when it was spoiled. It's a cool card. I run it in some decks. The Adept is probably a better version of that.
So anything else in black you want to discuss, Will?
There's a handful actually.
Oh god. Okay.
So first we have a Bone Cache Overseer. This is a random little guy that I kind of like. 1 black for creature squirrel warlock with 1 power, 1 toughness that says tap it, pay a life, draw a card. Activate only if 3 or more cards left your graveyard this turn, or if you sacrificed a food this turn. There are some decks that would probably like this. If you're doing anything with your graveyard moving cards around, you are going to be able to draw an occasional card off of this. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but it's a card that I think will be slotted in some decks here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next, and this is a card that I actually think we'll see some play. Consumed by Greed. 1 black for an instant. Gift a card. Target opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power from among creatures they control. If you gifted a card, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. 3 mana, kill Tivit, recur a creature, and kill the Thassa's Oracle player. Brutal card.
Sorry, we got a question from Trickster really quick though. What's the interaction between, by the way, for Azusa's? Azusa's Lost but Seeking. Can you remove it before they make their extra land drop? Which card is this in reference to again? But yeah, just to piggyback on what Will was saying, the fact that Consumed by Greed is instant makes this really, really vicious. So like, you know, that Tivit can be like, what are you guys going to vote for? And you're like, well, hold up.
Murder.
Yeah, I vote for murder. Exactly. And it will be their biggest thing. And generally speaking, I mean, like, this is not based off of the CMC, it's based off the power. So yeah, there could be something that's more powerful, but doubtful in that deck. But I mean, this is not necessarily a matchup dependent only for Tivit. It's quite good at removing a lot of the bigger threats. So I like it quite a bit.
It's just non-targeted removal, in addition to the fact that you can gift a card to get a creature back, which could be good with like recurring Dockside or something, or could just say kill a Thorical player when they try to combo off.
Yeah, I guess it's not good against Planeswalker commanders, but that's okay. Is pick your poison and green. Makes them sacrifice what and what.
Flyer, artifact or enchantment, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Still an amazing card. There's also a funny card to name when you cast DC, Consumed by Greed.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
It's been said, but Crick loves it. It hasn't been said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Will.
Next, I have 2 that I'm kind of linking together as just generically good removal. Feed the Cycle and Fell, literally right next to each other. Feed the Cycle is 1 in a black, just like Fell, but unlike Fell, it's an instant, and it says as an additional cost, you either forge or you pay a black. And for those who may have forgotten, forge is either exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice food, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Then Fell is 1 black for sorcery, destroy target creature. These are just 2 mana remove effects. They're
kind of
relatively
impressed.
good.
Yeah, like in a limited environment, I feel like you normally see like this kind of murder effect at 3. This is pretty good. Murder's instant.
Or at 2 with some kind of target selection or with like life loss on it.
Right, right. So these are really clean removal for creature. I don't disagree. Playing a land that does not touch the stack. Sorry. But yeah, we can keep moving. I like these.
Then I have, where are you? Well, it's iridescent vine lasher. Oh, I remember this. It's the where are you? Wait, actually, hold on. Am I?
Iridescent Vine Lasher. I mean, I have it on
Oh
my
yeah,
screen.
yeah, there it is. Iridescent vine lasher. It's an offspring landfall card. It's a black for a creature lizard assassin with 2 power or 1 power, 2 toughness, and offspring for 2 generic. Landfall. Uh, deal 1 damage to target opponent. I mainly have this here because of Nixilis. It will be landfall, draw 2 cards off of Nixilis. It's a good card.
Yeah, it also just finishes the game for any land
Yeah,
strategy.
if you have a way of looping through your lands, kill people. um, then this is the card I thought it was going to be when I was referring to it, but a Rotmouth Viper or Rottenmouth Viper. 5 and a black for a creature elemental snake with 6 power and 6 toughness that says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice any number of non-land permanents. This spell costs 1 less for each permanent sacked this way. When this enters or attacks, put a counter on it, then, for each counter on it, or I should say blight counter, just so that people don't get confused with, I can stack +1s on it, but
Mhm.
put a blight counter on it. For each blight counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. It's a card that will burn people pretty quickly because it deals 12 damage by the first time it attacks, and then people need to start discarding cards and sacrificing permanents to not die. This is the kind of card that you could very easily get this out on turn 1 if you just dump enough garbage into play, and then if it doesn't get removed, people just lose.
Yeah, I kind of wish it had some evasion.
Yeah, if it had like ward or something, it would be insane.
Yeah, I don't hate it though. I do like it. It's a pretty gnarly card. Mm, yeah, the lack of evasion really hurts me with this one, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. The fact that it does the thing when it enters as well is quite good, right? So you're getting the effect immediately, so it's not like you have to wait for it to be of value. I like it. I like this art here, by the way, too. This ruthless negotiation. I didn't even realize this.
My next one is a Scavenger's Talent, 1 black for level 1. Whenever one or more creatures you control die, you create a food token. Trigger only once per turn. 1 and a black for level 2. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. For 2 and a black, you get level 3. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanent cards. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. The reason that I have this on the list is, one, it's a dockside outlet if you really want a dockside outlet, but there are some decks that actually want to make people mill stuff so that you can make tokens or other things so that you can sacrifice stuff and keep going. This is not that bad of like a graveyard storm effect to
Hmm.
just mill people out pretty quickly. And there's even the one background commander that says when an opponent mills a creature, you make a 1/1 token. And if you have any sack outlet, you can kind of just keep sacking them to storm mill people's decks. But people usually don't play that background guy, so not gonna see that there that often. But this is a useful card just because it's a dockside mill outlet.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's it's also not that difficult to get there. Like a 3 CMC is not a high ask, particularly if we're talking about dockside here.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a high
and if
ask.
you're going infinite, you already have the mana.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then my final card in black is Season of Loss. It's a 3 black for a sorcery that says choose up to 5 worth of points for modes.
Pause.
For for 1 point, each player sacrifices a creature for 2 points. Draw a card for each creature you control that died this turn for 3 points. Each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard.
So this is going to be 3 single paws and 1 double paw, right?
It's either that or one single pawn, two double paw, like after sacrificing a couple of your creatures so that you can just go, okay, I draw 12, something like that. It has the utility of either being 5 mana wipe the board, 5 mana clear off 3 things and draw a small handful of cards, or 5 mana everybody sacrifices a creature and then you proceed to draw like a fifth of your deck.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
would
just a high utility card.
I would say that this might be one of the only like real playable seasons we saw.
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say, right?
that's fair.
Okay. Nothing else in black that I want to talk about. If there's anything else in black you all want to talk about, please let us know. But we're going to move on to another one of Red's talents. I have artist talent here. So for a generic and a red, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So you just have rummage. It's not limited to once per turn, so you can rummage your little heart away. For two generic and a red, non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And for a 2 generic and red, if a source you control would deal non-common damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. That's maybe overkill for what I'm thinking here. If you're trying to storm, this is a really, really good utility for getting you there. Obviously, it's not card draw still, so you are, and it's card advantage, I should say. You're not getting up in hand here, but you can find the utilities to help you continue to storm with this. I think it's a really cool storm utility, and obviously, if you just have like Isochron, Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, you could peel through your list this way and find whatever you need to win the game. So it's obviously an outlet in that sense as well. It also fuels Underworld Breach lines just by playing it.
The cost reduction is nothing to scoff at either. Just making your stuff cost 1 less makes it so that you can storm off a little bit easier. And if you're doing something like Joyra, you do really want the cost reduction to play your whole deck in 1 turn.
Yeah, no, this is so legit. Like, it's quite good in obviously the driver we're referring to is she's 2 CMC.
Oh no, the 4 CMC Joyra.
Is she 4?
Yeah, she's 2 and then a blue and then a red for cast a historic draw
a card. I thought she was less. Yeah, I like artist talent a lot. I think it's really good. And to piggyback, isn't the new black talent A+B with Chatterfang? Are you talking about scavengers?
Which talent?
Or
it's the
bandits.
Sacrifice a permanent to have somebody mill 2 cards. Whenever no, because it's only trigger once per turn. That's the scavenger's talent does not go infinite with Chatterfang, because when you make the food, you do make a squirrel, but then when you sacrifice that squirrel to whatever, you don't make another food. It would be amazing if it was, though. That would be an actual hardcore Chatterfang combo.
Yeah, we didn't get there though, gang. Sorry. The next card I want to talk about is the Flame Cash Gecko. So, Flame Cash Gecko reads, for a generic and a red, Lizard Warlock, 2/2 body, when Flame Cash Gecko enters, if an opponent lost life this turn, add Rakdos. Why not? You can pay a generic and a red, discard a card, draw a card. Really cool outlet, really cool effects. I like these types of creatures. I just like highlighting like any sort of Priest of Gix or Priest of Ouroboros or what's the Golgari one? Pretty famous, played in a lot of decks. She makes green and a red.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
amazing
about.
Amazing art. But this is like another one of those. Obviously, an opponent needs to have lost life this turn, but if you attacked with anything, then you just have a Cloudstone Curio line set up for you, depending on what you're doing. This is like another utility you can do that with. It's also just color fixing as well. So anytime you can like net the mana back, and if you needed the black for any reason, like you weren't able to get in any other way, this is a cool way to get that. So you can filter it out through this guy. Also, it's an outlet. Like if you have infinite mana, it's just there as an outlet. I thought this was a really cool utility. Again, it's going to be niche. I don't think every deck wants this, but there might be a deck that does. Wizards stopping are fun. Oh, sorry guys, yeah.
No
Uh,
combo for you.
no comment. Any thoughts on this one? It's just as what it.
Sets up your reanimator stuff as well. That's the main thing that I like
Yeah,
about this. Just paying 2 to discard a card is nice.
that's not bad. Discard a card, draw. I mean, you net even,
Yeah.
and you get to set up. I have Kindle Spark Duo as my next card. This is just another, what is it, Curiosity character, if I'm not mistaken. 2 generic and a red 1/3 body lizard otter. Obviously, because you've got a duo, tap to deal 1 damage to target opponent. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap Kindle Spark Duo. Sorry, no, not Curiosity. This is going to be a utility you can use to finish the game with any sort of infinite line where you're casting things. Likely Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal, and or if you have a commander that enables infinite cast, then like a food chain kind of thing. Oh, non-creature, excuse me. Infinite cast outside of food chain, then you're good. Jundaloran Shenanigans, Here I Come. Ugh, the art is so wild, and this just saw a glimpse of the blasphemous act. Oh, as you scroll down, we could look at that again. Any thoughts on the Kindle Spark Duo, though? Am I missing anything there?
Uh, it's mediocre. There's the 2 mana creature that I think when you cast an instant or sorcery, you untap it and you can tap it to deal 1 damage to each opponent. I think that one's probably better, and it does curiosity stuff. There's
Mm.
also a couple 2 mana creatures that just when you cast a non-creature deal 1 damage to each opponent. I feel like this is a worse version of some things that we've already had.
Do people ever infect on stuff like Duo?
Oh, you mean like give the duo infect just burn people down?
I don't know. Be kind of cool.
There's some decks where I've done that.
The next card I want to bring up is Storm Splitter. For amazing art, 3 generic and a red, 1/4 body, otter wizard haste. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter. Exile that token at the beginning of the next end step. This is just a really cool way to kill someone.
Scoot Storm! Scoot Storm!
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty dope. I mean, the fact that those are hasty tokens means that you can knock someone out once you've made infinite of them. It's just another outlet payoff. Having themselves, like, if you're playing, what is are there any instant or sorcery spells that require you to, as additional cost, sacrifice a thing like that you can loop? Because then this is giving you tokens that you can loop with, essentially.
Well, you have like the red flare and stuff like that, but the thing is that you don't even need to go infinite to win the game with this because it just escalates very, very quickly. And if you have any commander that lets you turn creatures into some kind of card advantage, you win the game, like Rakdos. The new Rakdos loves this because you can sack these to draw 4 cards, and if you play a card, you proceed to get like 12 more.
Right, 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 right. Because it is an exact copy of the Storm Splitter, right? So,
It's a very, very fun card. And if you have Anthem commanders or commanders that care about things entering or dying or so on, this card does a lot of work. This will be slotted into a handful of decks and it will be a pretty solid improvement for them.
important question here, Will. What kind of weapon is this fish skeleton? Is it a spear? Is it a mace? I would say that it's similar to a mace, but like a big one.
Yeah,
A maul?
it's a club. It's a
It's a
club.
club. Yeah. Uh, has to be making a copy when the spell is in exile, so you can cast the copies. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter. Has to be making a copy when the spell is in exile. How do you mean? Exile that token. I believe you. I believe you. Whatever you're saying. T-Spot Slinger. I just want to highlight that art. Okay. The next card I want to talk about is another combo card that I don't think anyone's going to use, and I think I need to jump back for it. It's called Echoing Assault. Will, do you remember this one off the top of your head?
No, not in red. Hold on.
It has a little mouse on it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Echoing Assault.
Oh
4
yeah.
generic and a red. Creature tokens you control have Menace. Whenever you attack a player, choose target non-token creature that's attacking that player. Create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1. That token enters tapped and attacking that player. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. If I'm not mistaken, you can combo with this in Combat Celebrant, but you can do that with a lot.
Not
So,
combat celebrant because the token isn't declaring an attack, but you can make a
does Combat
copy.
Celebrant not untap all your creatures?
It does, but the
And
thing
then
is the
can't
token doesn't
you?
have haste.
Oh yeah.
It does go infinite with Port Razor and the demon that's Port Razor though, because those are when they connect, you take an extra combat.
Great axe, like Nathan's idea. It's a great axe. Yeah. Um. So it's there for that.
Actually, I
Again,
guess it doesn't go infinite with Port Razor either because the Port Razor can't attack players that's already attacked this turn, so eventually the original can't attack anymore.
you're
Yeah, so
saying that
you
this.
can't. Dang.
Okay, guys, give me your favorite Echoing Assault combo. Give me your favorite Echoing Assault. Target something with Myriad.
I have some red cards for you,
Oh,
Patrick.
I've got one more. Do you want to cover this one? Is it on your list?
Yeah.
Agate Instigator.
Uh, I don't think I have Agate Instigator on mine. Go
Well,
ahead.
I'll touch on it real quick then. It's just another outlet, guys. I'm just bringing it up because it's an outlet. For a generic on a red, I'm not even going to read Offspring. Whenever another creature you control enters, deal 1 damage to each opponent. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I did have Agate Instigator. Sorry, why the heck did I say I did not?
It
Yeah,
it
Agate
completes it
Instigator.
completes your party. It's a rogue, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's pretty good.
Well, it's also just impact tremors, but
Yeah, on
you
a
can
body.
double it up, and it has a body to it. Uh,
Right.
this is a good card. It definitely goes in a bunch of different decks, just because it's debatably better impact tremors. It's 2 impact tremors in a trench coat if you want it. Um, very good card. Highly recommend this card. Uh, Another card I wanted to go over is Calamity's Cinders. 5 red red for sorcery with Convoke. Deal 6 damage to each untapped creature. Uh, Different form of Blasphemous Act, because a lot of people aren't going to be attacking with their creatures anyways, and this is just kind of nuke everything but your stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Trickster says, while we're on red, there's been a change in the rules text for additional combat cards because of the errata that gets rid of post and pre-combat main phase wording. It's now first and second main phase.
Okay. Well, that doesn't really change much, though. I think that's just a wording change.
Changes everything. Well, this isn't just semantics. I'm so sorry, Trickster. You may proceed. I like Calamity Cinder a lot. I kind of glazed over this one. I think in Zada, maybe you appreciate this, but I mean, are you? Could you?
If you're
Would you?
playing any kind of creature deck, you could just tap all of your creatures that you weren't going to attack with to clear the board.
Right, that you didn't already attack with, you should say, I guess, because you would you wouldn't want to kill them. Yeah, so not bad. Unless that thing had vigilance, then it's gonna die. Unless you convoke. Infinite combats gets broken. It does. It always gets broken. Infinite combats. I like Calamity Cinder. But Will, anything else on your hit list for red?
My next one is a Coruscation Mage. I think that's how you pronounce that.
Uh,
It's
Coruscant, Coruscation,
yeah,
Coruscation mage.
Coruscation
I
Mage.
have no idea.
Well, 1 in a red for creature otter wizard with offspring 2, 2 power and 2 toughness. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's another mass ping effect for your curiosity decks that can double itself up, and it's gutter snipe, but better if you want to do offspring. So
Otter Snipe.
yeah. Next is Might of the Meek, and this is just a Zodic cantrip. It's target creature gains trample if it's a mouse. It also gains 1 attack. Draw a card. It's 1 red in an instant. Uh, right after that, I have Playful Shove, which is another Zodic cantrip. 1 and a red for a sorcery, deal 1 damage to any target, and then draw a card.
How many slots in the deck are there for cantrips?
Enough.
But I mean, like,
You
how many
can
can you afford to run?
you just need mana that lets you ramp into other cantrips, and then you can play pretty much as many cantrips as you want as long as you have a couple creatures threaded in there. You can play like 20-ish cantrips
Mm.
in Zada. Because worst case scenario, it's target one of your opponent's creatures for a thing, draw a card for 1 red, which will help you fix to get some stuff. Zada cantrips are usually never just a dead card.
It's just strictly
Uh,
better than things I've played in Obix. Up next, Trickster, can you give an example of one of the infants that is broken now? Oh yeah. If there is a particular infinite combat that's enabled and or more broken, and feel free to lay it out for us. But Will, outside of Playful Shove, anything else?
uh, Season of the Bold. Only reason why I want to bring this up, it's 5 mana, get a
Nope.
magnet activation. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot to mention that. It exists.
Nothing fancy. It
Yeah,
exists.
it exists. Good art. If
Agreed.
there's any other red card you guys want to talk about, let us know. But Will, was that it for red for you?
That is it for red for me.
Savacap's Brew. You didn't want to mention Savacap's Brew?
What is Savacap's Brew?
It's okay. I just wanted you to look at it. I just wanted you to notice it, Will.
Well, yeah, it's the thing that I brought up to you earlier that I'm like, oh, it's a Zada cantrip, but then it wasn't a Zada cantrip.
Yeah. Sorry, man. So the next card I want to talk about, we'll start with the B. Will, actually, you want to tackle this Bloodroot Apothecary?
Yeah, Bloodroot Apothecary is 2 and a green for a Squirrel Druid with 3 power, 3 toughness, and Toxic 2. For those who
Hmm.
don't remember, Toxic 2 is just when this connects, it gives 2 infect counters, or sorry, 2 poison counters. Then, when this enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each create a treasure. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-creature token, that player gets 2 poison counters. Screw Dockside.
I
3
mean,
mana, no Dockside.
so they're still gonna do at least pop 4 of those, right?
Yeah, they can pop 4, and then if you punch them with the squirrel, they die.
Pop 4, then no more. But yes, you're absolutely right. Pop them with a squirrel. Too bad she doesn't have menace. It's pretty potent. I do think 3 CMC is high. But depending on what your deck's trying to do, you could kill people with this, potentially. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-creature token, it's important to note that you can force them to sacrifice things too, but I mean, non-creature token is very specific, so it's really just there as a dockside negation, which we have Collector Oof for as well. So is this better than Collector Oof? I'm not
Probably not.
I'm not going to tell you that. But I do think that it's still a good card. Definitely noteworthy.
If you have a way of giving people non-creature tokens and forcing them to sack them,
Mm,
then you can kill people with this,
you
but
can kill people.
probably not happening.
Probably not happening. But one thing that is definitely happening is Gormon showing off his talent. Gormon's talent for 1 green. During your turn, artifacts you control are foods in addition to each of their other types, and have pay to sacrifice this artifact, gain 3 life. This is just like auto took combo enabling, right?
Uh,
Just having food. Just having food.
I'm not 100% sure. So oh yeah, just having the food to do took stuff. Yeah. So just 1 green, all of your creatures are sackable to took. Yeah.
Or all your artifacts, rather. All your artifacts.
hmm
Pay 2 and a green. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, create a 3/3 raccoon. Yada yada. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter. I'm really just in it for things becoming food.
Yeah.
Specifically, yeah, for food combos.
Agreed. It's not bad. It does enable combos because it sets it up a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like it. I like it for being 1 green for sure. Um, the next card I want to talk about, though, I think I skipped over it, is For the Common Good. So, For the Common Good is XX in a green. Create X tokens that are copies of target token you control. Then tokens gain indestructible until your next turn. Gain 1 life for each token you control. Why did I write this down? Copy token you control, then tokens you control gain indestructible today.
You
I
can
don't.
make a token copy of something relevant. You can make a whole lot of token copies of the thing. Like if you make a token copy of Dockside, you can make 7 token copies of Dockside.
It's pretty gross. It's a copy effect off of double X.
It's not great in my opinion, but
No, I agree
it's
with you.
fun.
I should have wrote notes for these. I have a large list in green, and I can't tell you why I wrote this down. Give me your favorite combo for the common good. Stops Zeotra. I think Bloodroot is a house in casual. Probably agree with that. Yeah, I think there's more room for shenanigans. For example, any card that gives extra combat steps and mana, let's say Neheb, it only triggers the second main, not the third, so it's no longer infinite attack steps. Oh, that's interesting, says Hugo suggesting. You use
Oh,
Molten Duplicate on Atali and use Common Good for the token Atalis. Well, thank you for that. The next card I want to talk about, though, because there are a lot in green I need to cover. Heaped Harvest. It's too generic and a green. Why did I bring this one up? Let's find out. It's a food. That's important. Whenever Heaped Harvest enters the battlefield, and when you sacrifice it, you may search your library for a basic land card, put onto the battlefield, tapped and shoved. Oh, that's why. It's a food version of what is the name of
Rampant
a
Growth.
rampant growth or Kodama's
Oh,
Reach that grows.
Icar Wellspring.
Yeah, but it's like 1 more mana than Icar Wellspring.
Yeah,
Either way, is Icar tapped?
I think Icar might put him to your hand.
Oh, that's worse. People, that's worse. I can confirm that that's worse. Can't flip. And FYI, Molten Dupe Atalis can't flip. Yeah. That's okay though. You just want them to ETB. Heaped Harvest is pretty solid though. If you need ways to create like just generate ramp, I mean outside of Nadu, this is good. I like this card a lot.
Yep, if you have a way of sacrificing it without doing the whole food trigger, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, you could also do it that way, but it's not as good as just sacrificing it for added
I,
value.
I also want to say it says when you sacrifice it, not when it leaves the battlefield as well. So it's
Yeah.
it's not like the other ones.
Well, I mean, if you could flicker it and just get it back, that'd be kind of gnarly.
That's fine. If you want to use your displacer kitten to get a bunch of lands into play, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah,
You're cool.
and to play tapped.
Yeah.
At the beginning, Innkeeper's Talent is the next one I want to go over. Again, I have so many green cards, so we'll see if I left anything for Will. Actually, maybe after Innkeeper's Talent, I'll let you cover what you want to cover from green, because I wrote down an absurd amount of cards. Generic and green. At the beginning of each combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It's pretty good value. For 1 green, permanents you control with counters on them have Ward 1. I like that. For 3 generic and a green, if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent, put twice that many counters of that kind on permanents or players instead. So Bloodroot, you're even better now. Any thoughts on the Innkeeper's Talent? Did you have this one listed?
I did not, but it is still a nice card. There's a couple decks that need counters on stuff to be able to go off, and the ward is just nice.
Yeah, the ward is nice. I would probably stop it at 3, personally. Well, 3 mana, level 2. I gotta say, Heaped Harvest doesn't really look appetizing. As a food, Heaped Harvest isn't doing it for you. Well, I mean, mind you, this is a world of mice, rats, owls, birds, otters. It's probably appealing to them. But Will,
Hold
what
on, hold on. I want to point out they got fish there, they got berries, they got mushrooms, they got peppers, they got like a whole mixture of stuff. Like that is a fine veggie tray right
Yeah,
there.
there's escargot. There's some snails to the left as well. Yeah, 3 mana ward everything is pretty good, I think. I mean, ward is many things as you have counters on for sure. So I think for like if I built a casual what's that girl I played? The one that makes the rolls. Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm talking about? I played
yeah,
her
yeah, yeah.
like
Can't
the
remember her name, but I know who you're talking about.
she would be really cool with this. She would be really cool with this. Virtue and Valor. Her name is this girl. Elevere. Elevere would be cool with this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, Will, I'll let you cover the rest of green.
All right. Well, for the ones that I have, one that I wanted to cover is Hunter's Talent, and it's 1 in a green, level 1. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, so it's a punch effect. It says 1 in a green. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+0 and trample until end of the turn. Give something big a little bit of trample to punch through. And then finally, you can pay 3 in a green for level 3. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. This is just a little bit of removal that inevitably will make it so that you can draw some cards and also make it so that you can punch through some stuff here and there. It's removal with a tiny bit of utility.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, as surprised I didn't write this one down. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I like it as a just piece of removal that sticks and provides Dockside one more treasure. I'm just kidding.
Yep, yep.
Okay, it's good. It's good beyond that.
The next one I had was Scrap Shooter. 1 green for a raccoon archer with 4 power, 4 toughness, and gift a card. Reach. When this enters the battlefield, if you gifted a card, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. This is just another pretty good removal creature.
And a really sick looking raccoon, by the way.
Yee.
Innkeeper is very good in casual Skullbriar.
Yeah, can we look at the alternate art of as well? So it's like really badass raccoon in the first picture, and then like just chill in the second picture.
Yeah, I mean he's still got a devious smile on, but yeah, the other one is way, way more menacing.
Yeah, first one is I'm going to kill you and your whole family.
And your
Second
family.
one is just like I shot your soda can.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like kill you and your whole family, and not necessarily in that order. It's pretty gnarly. Um, I didn't have that one listed either. But yeah, agreed on all fronts.
And then another one I had, and hold up, where is? Did I pass? I might have already passed it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
seriously,
uh,
raccoons
yeah,
are looking pretty badass in this game.
yeah, I
Sorry.
passed one. So it was a Peerless Recycling, and this is 1 in a green for an instant. Gift a card. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If you gifted a card, do 2 instead. It's just
Well,
another.
I have peerless recycling on mine too.
Yeah,
So let's go back over here.
it's instant speed, gift a card, and return 2 things from your graveyard to your hand. Once again, it's a kill Thoracle effect, but it can also get you back Dockside and something else that's relevant, maybe Wishclaw
Yeah,
Talisman.
anything that's instant with gift a card, I think is
An auto
considerable.
include.
Yeah, auto consider. This
Yeah,
one's
auto yeah.
quite good. This one's
Auto
quite good.
include is a little overzealous for me, but yeah. And then next, I think there's a card that I brought up with you at some point, which is Tender Wild Guide. It's 1 in a green for a awesome druid with 2 power, 2 toughness, and offspring for 2. Taps for any color, and you can pay 1, tap it, and put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's just 2 mana dorks in 1 card. It's nice if you need more dorks in a deck. It just kind of compresses more stuff into a card for you.
Yeah, that's good. Definitely good.
Then I have Thornvault Forager,
Yeah,
and
this was literally brought up in chat. I like this one a lot, by the way.
yeah, Thornvault Forager. It's a 1 in a green for a squirrel ranger with 2 power, 2 toughness, and tap for a green. Forage and tap to get 2 of any combination of colors, and you can pay 3 and tap to search your library for a squirrel card, reveal it, and put it to your hand, then shuffle your library. Uh, Tutor Changeling and make 2 mana of any colors that you need, just because you have a couple things in your graveyard is pretty nice.
Yeah, that or you make food, as was suggested by Chris. I do agree. I think it's a really
Yeah.
cool tutor. I mean, I say really cool tutor. It's a really cool dork with just the added benefit of a tutor late game, depending on Squirrel and or, you know, Changeling.
Yeah. And my final green card is Wear Down, and this is probably one of my favorite gift cards in the set, outside of the better Chain of
Dawn's
Vapor.
Truce or Better Chain of
In
Vapor, I
Dawn's
guess.
Truce, yeah.
Yeah.
But 1 and a green for a sorcery, gift a card, destroy target artifact or enchantment if you gifted a card. Instead, destroy 2 artifacts and or enchantments. Force of Vigor, but it's 2 mana and sorcery speed. And then you give somebody a card. I like it just because it's removable and it's loopable. So if you need a way of winning the game in some decks with Thrasios in it, this is another way that you can do that.
By obviously gifting to make them deck themselves.
Yeah.
Right. It's not bad. I have 2 more to mention. Let's see if they're any good. I'm sure they're gonna be great. My assessments are never wrong. Never. I've never been wrong.
My logic is undeniable.
Yeah. Where the hell's the first one? Did I skip it early on? Well, I mean, hold up. I got this. I got this. Don't help me. I don't wanna know. It should be right here. There you go. Keen-eyed Curator in green. For double green. Another raccoon. Not as badass as the first one, but he looks like he's having an amazing feast. 3/3 body. As long as there are 4 or more card types among cards exiled with Keen-eyed Curator, it gets +4/+4 and trample. You can pay 1 to exile a target card from a graveyard. This is just another Scoos effect.
Yep, Punchy Scoos.
Punchy Scoos, baby. Exile a target card from a graveyard. For 1 generic, this is really solid. I like this a lot. Isn't Scoos a green to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it either gets a counter on itself or gains you life.
I think it is a little bit better than Scoos. Because if you're trying to just challenge graveyards, then being able to channel a generic into this is just better. Frankly, yep. I don't really care about punching with Scoos. Although the fact that it becomes a 7/7 late game with trample is good. Is actually really quite good. Again, this is really matchup dependent. Like if you know you need to be able to exile graveyards, then sure, it's quite decent at that. And the last card I want to mention is Longstock Brawl. It's just 1 green. You can gift a tapped fish and choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you do control if the gift was promised. Then those 2 creatures fight each other. Green is hurting for removal options if you play mono green. This is just another option in the 1 CMC slot for creature removal based off of fighting. Right, so it's not a punch effect. You will get punched back.
You know the only reason why I don't like this card?
What?
The art does not have the rabbit slapping the coyote raccoon thing with a fish. That would have been the best flavor win that you possibly could have had.
We do get a celery stalk, but yes, it is missing on that front because these fish are pretty damn cute.
I would have loved that. That would have been hilarious if they just had like, oh yeah, it's a buff unless you add a fish, then.
So speaking of other green cards that you guys would want to mention, there is a suggestion of Evercoat Ursine is playable, I think, quotes Nathan, playable in Kinnan. So we can look at
Ursine is 4 and a green for a creature elemental bear with trample and hideaway 3, hideaway 3. When this deals damage to a player, if there are cards exiled with it, you may play 1 of them without paying its mana cost. It's kind of a Kennen effect in Trenchcoat. It's cheat this out with Kennen so that you can cheat some other stuff out later. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how great it is because if this gets nuked, then you're just kind of out of those 2 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the biggest fan, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. It's not bad. If there's any other green cards, feel free to bring them up. I mean, obviously, you would want this to have haste, but Que sera. I only have one multicolored card I want to talk about. Will, I don't know about you.
Same here.
Does it rhyme with Meyer Mass Plentor?
Not really, but I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's the same card.
It does, well, then it definitely does rhyme with Meyer Mass Plentor. Um, oh, I see. I forget its colors. Let me see.
Simic.
Fireglass Mentor is probably Rakdos. Oh, I'm
Oh, it's
sorry.
no, no. I thought you were talking about Lily Splash Mentor. All
Well,
right, we got
maybe
two
I
different cards.
maybe I was. Well, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a look at this card, see if Pat 2 weeks ago was accurate.
Yeah,
Fireglass
Fireglass
Mentor.
Mentor. Yeah.
For Rakdos, 2/1 Lizard Warlock. Maybe Ursine is just good Maelstrom Wanderer then. At the beginning of your second main phase, right? Not your first. This is that distinction. If an opponent lost life this turn, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until the end of turn. You may play that card. I like this as a card quality effect, unless the 2 things that you've exiled are like parts of an A plus B combo that just happen to reside in your deck. You're just picking through the lands you would otherwise have to deal with, right? But the fact is, you can, if you miss your land drop, take the land. That's what I'm saying. But normally you're trying to churn through that stuff and just hit the meat of your deck. This is a really good way to do that. The fact that it's second main phase is also critical because any other creature that was out there can get the swing in for you, and this will have effectively if an opponent lost life this turn for you. I like this quite a bit. I think that this is a really cool draw engine in these colors. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
My card that I had to bring up was Lily Splash Mentor. Two green blue for a frog druid with 4 power, 4 toughness, and reach. You can pay one, a green, and a blue to exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Activate only at sorcery speed. Worse Emil, but better colors for Emil. Um, you can use clone effects to bounce it and keep copying Dockside for infinite mana in some Simic decks. In Teamer, you just use your own Dockside. If you are using any kind of untap enough lands effect, like a Peregrine Drake, you can easily make infinite mana here and then flicker your entire board infinite times. If you are playing one of the weird elf ball decks using the something of the waves, I can't remember the name, but draw for every creature you control on ETB, you can use this to basically pay 3 mana to Wheel of Fortune or just draw 7, net 7 to your hand. It's worse a meal, but better colors for a meal, so debatably better a meal.
yeah, yeah, I could see that. Emil's effects cost how much again?
3 generic.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with, Will. I get what you're saying, though. If you're doing something with Dockside, it doesn't quite matter.
Yeah, this is just uh blue can use infinite flickers better than Selesnya can, and you're doing Simic, so you can take a take advantage of it a little bit better. But if you're in like what is it, Bant, if you're in Bant, you're running a meal over this wholeheartedly, without a doubt.
Okay. Splashy entrances are my specialty, and they can be yours too. Try again. Dude, that's some sick flavor text. Well, that's it for multicolor, guys. If there's any other, and hey, Martin, but if there's any other multicolored card y'all would want to talk about, I'm just going to put this on the screen because I think this is the best Trevi art. Let me know. We covered all of the legendaries in a previous stream. I'll highly encourage you to check that one out after this video. But for now, we're going to move on to colorless, of which I have none to mention.
I have one land and one artifact.
Tell me that artifact, Will.
It is Bark Form Harvester. It is 3 mana for an artifact creature shapeshifter with 2 power and 3 toughness. It has Changeling, Reach, and you can pay 2 mana to put target card from your graveyard onto the bottom of your library. The reason why this is relevant? Magda. This is an artifact dwarf, and if you make infinite mana, this allows you to loop whatever card you want back onto the bottom of your library infinite times so that you can win the game. Magda's run Vexing Bauble now, and you can use Vexing Bauble and this to draw your entire deck. Then you can just cast Lightning Bolt and shuffle Lightning or put Lightning Bolt back on the bottom and keep redrawing it with Vexing Bauble to just win.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's just another way for Magda to win, and now Magda doesn't need to run weird outside cards. It's just a whole bunch of artifact dwarves now.
That's true. I kind of missed this one, but I'm not in the Magda mindset. Damn, look at
Fair
Bubble
enough.
Flower Share Pod. And it brings back your clock if it gets killed.
Indeed, indeed, which is another good reason to run this card.
Do I
And
need something to bring back my clock in Oswald?
well, you can run the bauble, and then you have the infinite combo with the Dawn card, Dawn's Truce, and then you have a win con and a way to recur your clock.
I was so impressed with the, not the Unwinding Clock, but the Clock of Omens last game we played. I never
Yeah,
go for that thing, but I just had it in my hand. Thank God.
it's good.
It's
Good.
good. It's not a bad card.
But
So is your one land Fountain Fort?
no, my one land is Three Tree City.
We're gonna cut through some of these artifacts, guys. Again, if there's anything else here, wow, the Soul Ring's amazing. Have you seen this ring?
I think I did, but
This in
I
foil would be amazing, but hold up.
yeah, that is a nice looking one.
It's so good looking. Oh, kind of reminds me, I'm getting so many like Chrono Cross vibes from this set. I don't know what it is about like the color palette and some of the designs of the accessories, but it just kind of harkens to some of the stylistic choices in that game. And anyway, if there's no more artifacts for you guys, you said Three Tree Mascot?
Three
You said
Tree
Three
City.
Tree. Yeah, I'm
So,
trying to find it here.
Three Tree City is a legendary land that as it enters, you choose a creature type. It taps for colorless, or you can pay to and tap it and choose a color. Add any amount of mana of that color equal to the number of creatures of the chosen type you control. This is worse Guy's Cradle, worse Nykthos. However, it is another Guy's Cradle, and in certain scenarios, this is better Guy's Cradle. Very, very niche. So if you need a lot of blue in the Simic deck and you're running a lot of tribal stuff, this can give you a lot of blue. If you're running a deck that can't run green but runs a lot of tokens, then this can get you a lot of mana for your tokens like Kaikar. This is a land that can be played in a good handful of decks and it can work very well. However, it is not as playable as a lot of people initially thought it was, but more playable than people thought it was after the initial reaction.
So it's good.
Yeah, it's playable.
Okay, I'm curious as to why I wrote Fountain Port. Let's find out. Yeah, it's just a great big utility land. Okay, so Fountain Port taps for generic. You can pay 2 and sacrifice a token, draw a card. Pay 3, pay a life, create a blue bird creature token. Or pay 4, tap it to create a treasure token.
Patrick, how dare you? You create a blue fish token?
Blue fish, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Bird.
Something that's also accurate for blue. Yeah, you're right, though. It's a fish. 100% fish. And important to note, this fish isn't tapped.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. do what you will with it. I like having access to effects off turn that, it's just like something to do off turn if you have nothing else to do. The draw being attached to having to sacrifice a token is a little high demand, but again, this is one of those lands that's all self-sufficient. Like you have 2 other effects that happen to make tokens. So
You said this land is self-sufficient?
that's right. I like Fountain Port. I don't know how many lists are going to have the space for it, but I do like it. I do think it's a good card. This is really good art for Fabled Passage, by the way. I didn't see this.
And if you're playing the Triad casual deck, then you can pay 3 and tap this and pay a life to make a 9/9 fish.
Yeah, there you go. Did you see this new Exotic Orchard?
I don't.
God, speaking of a delicious
That-
looking bounty, though.
Yeah, that is a whole lot of color.
That's so good. For sure, second
Is
cradle
hold
in
up, is
Elf
this
Ball.
legitimately like the best looking? Okay, this is maybe tied for the best looking exotic orchard.
Well,
The
it's
only one
certainly
that
not the
compares
one.
with it is the Middle Earth exotic orchard. It's like a golden tree line.
Oh, I need to find that. Wait, did I just pass it? The Middle Earth Golden Tree Line. Where am I looking?
So
Oh,
if you just go and click on
I'm looking there.
view
I
all
don't see it
prints,
though.
it's fourth line,
Fourth line.
fourth art in the fourth line.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I think this one might be my
I missed
favorite.
the Candyland exotic
Yeah,
orchard
I
too.
definitely did too. Yeah, that's it for this set though. I would have to say, I think that covers every card that's noteworthy that we've noticed. If again, there's anything you guys want to talk about before we close this out, we can. I think all the villages are also really interesting so far as the lands are concerned. Again, they're not immediately useful, but like I'll just look at Oak Hollow Village as an example. It taps for a generic, taps for a green, spend this mana only to cast creature spells, and you can pay a green to put a 1/1 counter on frog, rabbit, raccoon, or squirrels you control then into the battlefield this turn. All the villages have similar style effects. I think these are really cool lands that are something that could probably replace a basic in the deck, because they don't come into play tapped and they had added utility, if you don't mind the generic. Did you catch the new Tameshi Reality Architect line with Mockingbird and a creature land? Nathan, I think someone else brought that up. It might have been you, but we can look up Tameshi really quick.
It's a Tomshi, I think, is the it's the weird Azorius bounce commander.
I see. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So how does this work?
So you pay, I guess you do you play the Mockingbird for blue, return
Lotus
or
Blip?
sorry, you return a Lion's Eye Diamond or something from your graveyard into play, or the Lotus
Lotus
Bloom,
Bloom. Yeah.
yeah, either one, and then you play the bird as a land, sacrifice the rock to get 3 mana, then you use 1 white to return the bird to hand, repeat, 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 and as long as you just keep rotating between white and blue off of your bloom or your diamond, you make infinite mana. Then you can use your infinite mana and the bird to return all artifacts and enchantments from your graveyard into play.
Thoughts?
Uh, I mean, pretty good. Um, actually, easier way of abusing this with your infinite mana, you make the bird copy Tamshi, and then you can have Tamshi die to legend rule, and then or have Tamshi die to legend rule, resetting the return to hand effect, and then you can use that to bounce infinitely. Uh, but then that doesn't do it all the time though. There are probably lines that let you not need an outlet, but that is a cleaner outlet than we've had before.
Rosorius?
Yeah, for Azorius, but I think that the Fortune Teller's Talent is probably the better way to go with Tamshi now because you have a very low CMC enchantment and then a low CMC artifact, so you just go for that now probably.
Whenever one or more non-creature prints are returned to your hand, draw a card. Can
Oh,
you
it's
not?
non-creatured as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Draw your
Hmm.
deck. If you have a man land, draw your deck.
Yeah. Is it draw your deck? Because it's only once per turn.
Yeah.
There's probably a way that you can.
Reset Time Machine.
Yeah.
This feels like a lot of work.
It doesn't feel like too much work because it's not hard to get functional man lands, but let's see if there's a easy one that you can potentially search for. Uh, land creature.
Time Machine means test, trial, experiment, try out. No shit. Really? Oh, that's so cool. Okay, well, that's a lot of flavor right there. But yeah, for anyone who's missed the stream, you're good. We're just catching up on some combos that were enabled with this set, and I personally am just enjoying some of the art I didn't take in during reviewing this set. But there are just a lot of cards that were mentioned. I am going to close this one out for you guys, though. It is roughly 2 hours. I'll try to be good about making sure that we have these in chapters for you after this video so you can jump around a little bit more easily. But yeah, Will, any closing thoughts before we end this one? I realized that you were missing this border this whole time. Oh, sorry.
Well, it does not look like there's an easily searchable land for Tamshi to do the combo, but
Mm,
it's still not a bad combo.
um,
There's potential.
dude, ugh, I'm so excited for Star City Games convention in Baltimore, Maryland this weekend. Guys, if
Yeah.
you're attending, let us know. We'll be there, but obviously, if you're not, that's okay. We're both participating in a couple of events during the week. I just want to play a lot of Magic in One Piece. So if you see me, I'll be doing that. I'll probably participate in some of the paid events, but I think there's free to play in the space, so a lot of that. I feel like it's going to be a lot of commuting, Will. We can talk after this video, but
Yeah.
we'll
It's gonna
see
be a far commute.
a little bit.
'Cause I think it's from where you're staying, it's like 30-40 minutes from my house, and then it's like an hour drive from my house. So it's gonna be
Well,
long commuting.
it said it was like an hour from me earlier from their place to the convention center. I don't know why it's so long if we did it that way. Um,
Maybe when I looked, it was when there was traffic. Yeah, that
maybe.
might be it.
Well, either way, I'm gonna look through this deck one more time to see if there's any more things I want to pull out. I had this organized a moment ago, but I don't think it's organized anymore. But guys, yeah, I have like one more day of work, and then I'm leaving Friday morning to attend that. All of which to say, there won't be any more streams this week. Tomorrow evening, I promised I'd spend time with my wife because we have not had any downtime together, and I mean that for like the last 2 months, close to like 2 months. Her birthday's coming up though, so we'll have plenty of time to hang out. But guys, hope you enjoyed this set review. Again, even post video, feel free to comment, and I'm happy to talk about any of the cards from the set with you guys. But I think we captured everything. We'll see you on the next one, regardless. Yeah, I need to look at the lands and make sure I have everything in here. Look at this. Ooh, look at this Talon. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Talon.
Telling Gates of Madara. We're
Or
playing
not.
that Naruto land.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. So, oh my gosh, come on. There we go.
I'm a sucker for Fancy Steve.
Fancy Steve.
The promo version of Sakura Eyebelder. I did
Oh,
not even know that was a card
yeah.
until I saw it today and got one.
I finally got my Witch Enchanter, Will. Check it out, check it out.
Nice.
My Witch
Which
Enchanter.
Enchanter? Exactly.
Yes. Have fun at the event this weekend. Thank you, Nathan. I am very, very excited for it. I don't really care if I win, but I definitely care if I have a good time. So I just want to bring maybe one piece. I'll be a little bitter if I don't win. No, I don't really give a shit. I just want to play a lot of games. It's a gate. What? Talon, Gates, Madara? Oh
Yeah.
shit, you're right. Is that my one and only gate in this deck? Damn.
Yes. I do not think you run any other gates.
Maybe we make Oswald a Gates deck.
Cannot win with Maze's End. We're still one gate off from
Ugh.
monocolored gates.